What do you call the thing over top of you?
I don't even know.
No, I didn't know if it
Yeah,
had like
it's
a name
more
or not.
of, for me, it's more of the color because it's
I'll
yellow.
go in here. Communication. I communicate with others in healthy and meaningful ways. My communications are constructive, honest, and purposeful. I communicate with respect, positive regard, and an intention of growth for all. Yeah, this is something that I do try to do. I collaborate and cooperate. Yeah. And if I don't try, I would like to try to do it more. What do you think?
We're going to hold on to this. Just put it to the side for right now.
In healthy and meaningful ways.
Because I guess the intentions that I had set behind it were that we pull cards in alignment with whatever we're talking about today. Yeah, which is so wild because the card that I got is about sensuality. I experience pleasure. Sensuality and pleasure are my birthright, to be experienced with blissful joy. I honor and embrace my sexuality, recognizing the sacred sexual connection with myself and the intimate partner of my choice. It is safe for me to be sensual and sexual and can be respected for this. Pleasure and enjoyment are good, clean, and healthy. And when I say that, because we had talked about vulnerability, as well as healing through telling our story and being sexually abused as a child. This has to go into a lot of my story, or part of peeling back the onion of the healing journey and growing through that, of getting to that place of having this mindset of allowing myself to be in that energy, because there's so many people along the journey, and I was there, where sexuality was demonized or felt disgusting, or felt like it was this thing that we were supposed to do in order to be liked or in order to fit in, and not something that we are supposed to actually do in a loving, enjoying way. And getting that back has been part of the journey.
Is that specific to you, or is that a representation of how the community of people feel that have been sexually assaulted?
I can only speak for myself,
Okay.
but I can see reflections of my journey in other people. So when I see women who have not taken back their power, in that sense of the journey, I can also see myself through them, through that part of the journey where I was there, where I was. Yeah. And then there are women that I see that have been there who are light years ahead of me, who have been empowered in so many other ways and taken back their power. And I'm so excited for that future presently as well.
How does one go about reclaiming their power in that aspect, as far as dealing with that, if you can share? It's pretty deep.
Yeah, speaking their truth. And I think it's like one of the things too is I honor and embrace getting the choice to have an intimate, the intimate partner of choice, and having all of those choices. Taking back the power to me personally is having that choice to be like, listen, I don't want to right now, and not feeling obligated, and not also being scared that that means that you're like, then that person is going to be upset, or punishment. And that doesn't have to be like physical punishment, but like, that repercussion of like, he didn't get some, so now he's not going to talk to you for the rest of the night, or whatever the case may be. So giving yourself back that voice. Also taking back your power is allowing yourself to enjoy it. Yeah.
What happened? You just went left real quick?
No, it was like something.
Or were you just thinking about an enjoyable moment or something? You just veered. Oh,
Well, I was like, it just got so weird on so many levels and so intimate on so many levels. But
shit. I didn't even notice.
okay. So, because what popped in
Bring it back.
is what someone had said to me was the reason they were giving me accolades on how enjoyable our time together was.
Nicely put. Nicely
And
put.
and looking back on it, it was enjoyable. And he was explaining it was enjoyable because he was noticing how much I was enjoying it. And the reality of that wasn't always me. That wasn't always me comfortable in my body, comfortable expressing myself, or comfortable enjoying it. It used to have this ick around it of, it used to have this is what I have to do. This is my duty as a female being in a relationship.
Yeah, that's an interesting feeling to have to carry and work your way through in regard to that.
Yeah, and feeling safe too. Too. I mean, that also, yeah, feeling safe to be in that space is another important thing. Yeah, and also knowing that the person that I was with, if I said no or whatever, was always, yeah, respectful.
Yeah, as they should be. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting things to navigate as a younger person, especially, and as someone that's gone through, traumatic situations in regard to that.
I think that also, I guess, I don't know. I don't know what your segment was prior to that, but I guess it also speaks accolations to your sense of community, right? So I mean, obviously I'm sitting right next to you, so I like heard what he was saying,
Oh, okay.
but it's seeing all of these connections with you. Like we know so many mutual people in all of this. Like prior to us, like we just met each other, like when we started doing this,
Yeah, yeah.
but like we had known each other for years before that. So I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
funny.
Yeah, it's just interesting.
And never spoke, which is more interesting, right? Like when I saw you, I don't think we ever spoke.
No,
Maybe hi, possibly.
maybe. Yeah, I
That
was like, I
that
don't
was
even think it was,
yeah,
yeah, even that.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny. So what are you about to do? Pull another card?
Yeah, I was just curious to see if there was what the correlation.
Did the card that you just pulled about everything that you were talking about come from the same deck of cards that I pulled?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because it's a
So,
totally different thing.
oh, so wild thing is,
Did you do these?
oh yeah,
Oh,
this is
shit. You gonna put me to work here. Jaguar. Go ahead.
sorry. So it's like, so that is an animal. So we, signs and synchronicities are very big for me. So the animal that's there is also, there's something that we can learn in reference to what the card is about from the animals. So there's an animal, there's an essential oil like scent that is supposed to help us with whatever this card is about. There's a crystal there to help us work through it. And then there's like a number that can either be something that, like, when you see that number, you can be like, oh, that's what that card was talking about, and giving more clarity.
You know, last week how you were talking about signs and synchronicities, and I don't know why I didn't acknowledge it at the time, but there's a lot of them that happen in my life as well. You know, like I don't go around looking for them, but I do notice them when they happen. And basically, I don't make a lot of decisions based on emotions, feelings, but I am led by them, as are most of us people in general. And a lot of what I'm doing now has to do with those signs that came from different people and interactions. Almost all of it. Like I just ran into random people during the pandemic. I ran into some woman that she said something to me that just broke me down. and that was part of it. And then I ran into another guy.
What do you mean by that? Like broke you down? Like what does that mean?
Like I ended up crying. Oh yeah, and also this episode, I'm not crying. Okay, every time me and you work together, I always end up crying with you. I'm not crying this episode. Damn it. I think I've cried already like 3 or 4 times.
Stop, because we're literally talking about the power of being vulnerable,
Oh yeah,
and now you're
yeah,
going to be like,
yeah.
I refuse to be vulnerable. Is what
Yeah,
you're saying
I
right
know,
now.
right? I just went the other way with it. But yeah, so I guess I don't know. Maybe I needed a hug or something, or to be told that I matter, because it was a lot of when social media was a lot of tension racially. It was a lot of Black Lives Matter and all this and all that, and some lady just came up to me and said, "You matter," but I don't know why. I felt fine, but every now and then someone gets me. So I ran into another gentleman and he's talking to me about what I'm doing in life and blah blah blah, and he's like, "I think you got more to do, son." I was like, you might be right. Just little things like that. Or I ran into a woman at a basketball game. She's sitting next to me, and I can kind of tell she wants to talk, but I'm minding my own business watching the game. And then she just delivers a message. She tells me, she's like, you make sure you stick close to your son. Just, little gems like that that people sprinkle that just kind of come out of nowhere. But the thoughts are on my mind at the time that they're happening. And then they just somehow materialize from people. But I'm thinking about them prior. It's almost like how you describe that main character thing. Like I'm thinking thoughts and then all of a sudden someone comes to me with this thought that I'm thinking, which is strange, but it happens a lot. A lot of signs and synchronicities. What's up? Is something happening?
So, oh, how about before we go there, just tell me what your card says.
No, I want to know where you're going now. Is it the beeping?
No, no, no. It's the communication. It's the you matter part. And immediately what comes up for me in terms of that and thinking of you, of how that correlates, makes me think of dad for you.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah. Probably right.
Have you ever communicated of how that made you feel?
To who?
I mean, I guess to yourself.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Have
at
you?
some point.
Okay.
Oh, you about to try to break me down, huh? You about to try to make me cry.
No.
No, I'm kidding. I'm good today.
It's like, and I don't want to intentionally
No, I
make
know.
you cry.
I know.
But I also want to give you the power to be vulnerable. And when I see it, I'm not like, I'm just telling you what I see, what I'm feeling, and how, I mean, yeah, I'm very big on signs and synchronicities and putting puzzle pieces together. And the more that we understand something, the more healing that we can do. And the healing's not just for you, it's for your son too, right?
Yeah. You're very good. You know how they describe people as holding space for others? I feel like you're very good at that. When I watch back the shows and I see me crying, how sometimes I'll be like, try to get you to move forward with the segment and you don't. To me, I feel like that's you holding space. But in the moment, I'm just like, let's not hold this space. Because I'm thinking of it in like a production way. Like I don't actually want the space, although it's needed in the moment.
Well, okay. So I'm very big, and I was like, I was like, production wise or not, I think it is very important to feel your feelings because when you don't, right? So if we were just to keep going and not, that is where transformation comes from, is getting to the root of feeling the feelings. And then when we try to repress it, that's when we get dis-ease, right? So it'd also be negligent on my part to just be like, all right, we're just going to breeze through it. And then that disease comes, so that means I play a part in your disease if I don't hold space for you also.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You're good at that. I would like to take a piece of that from you, your style of holding space for others. It's very kind and it's like a nurturing kind of way that I think, I'm sure all people can do it, but like motherly, I would say.
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, everyone's feelings are valid and important, and they all tell us something, right? There's a reason why that her saying that to you meant so much. And what I see is it's a feeling that you had felt for so long because of, this came up before, this illusion, because right, of the you feeling that you didn't matter was an illusion, right? But we know where the illusion stems from.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Good job. You helped me piece things together. I'm gonna have to start paying you soon for these sessions. We're having live sessions on the air for the free. Jaguar, embrace your personal power and inner strength. Magnolia blossom, to open your heart and mind to the beautiful wonder of life. I can read, people, but this is challenging. Garnet,
Garnet, yeah, that's
Garnet.
a, yeah.
To ignite your passion plus pursue your dreams with determination. Is this just a one? Number one?
Yes.
To embrace new beginnings with confidence and courage. Feel the power of your blood and your ancestors. You are not alone.
That's interesting. That last sentence of feel the power of your blood and your ancestors. And this is something that I was speaking on the other day on my personal platform of, wow.
What
Oh
is
my
it? What's your
gosh.
personal platform? Go ahead.
On my
Hit your thing
TikTok.
real quick. I don't
Wow.
want you to lose it.
Okay. So literally, speaking with the ancestors, so remember, my biological father, I did not have an experience. I didn't have my biological father growing up. So now, working with my ancestors, I have no idea about him or what his family or my lineage in terms. So it's like trying to figure that out, trying to figure out the puzzle pieces without having anyone to give me any sort of roadmap. So that when you said that, that kind of made me think of like that is going to be part of your journey too, is also in that sense of learning about your dad without having that opportunity. Well, you do still have that opportunity.
Yeah.
You do have that opportunity to communicate and learn more. And it's hard.
I
Oh my,
probably, I probably should
whoa,
take advantage of
time
it.
out. Wow. I just realized so many similarities because one of the things that I struggle with that I was talking about was ancestor healing and how we're dealing with ancestors too, or past loved ones who I'm trying to figure out more about my dad, but part of my struggle too is with my mom, right? And one of the things is I have the face of my dad. So I didn't really understand until I was, or even just my being, right, has a reminder of her time with my biological father. He was beating on her. He was a very abusive man. He was murdered by a woman who just my assumption alone is that he was probably beating on this woman, and she, there's also, yeah, yeah, putting those puzzle pieces together, but seeing how it has such an effect. Like I can't change my face. Like my being triggers her of the time of being in those abusive situations, right?
Yeah.
Which is why she treats me the way that she does, that's part of her healing journey.
Yeah.
But seeing that too is working with ancestors, right? He is he's someone that is guiding me, but I also have to be in that space of forgiveness towards him because I literally be like talking to my father and who's in the spirit of, listen, I know that you did some things. I'm never going to say that they are okay. I do love you unconditionally. I am thankful that you are guiding me. But I need you in, like, I will say things like, I need you in some way, shape, or form to like make this right with my mom. I need you in some way, shape, or form to figure out a way to apologize or do something vibrationally to help her on her healing journey. And acknowledging that I'm pissed. Like, I'm pissed that I can't have the relationship that I want to have with my mom because of my face or just my being, because of the things that he did to her. And yeah, no, and but I also see how what a blessing it is, to have ancestors, to have that guidance, to learn more about self through others.
I imagine it would be or could be challenging to be a mother and love the child that is a direct reminder of your oppressor, of the person that stripped you of your power. I would imagine that there's a lot of conflict there. I would assume.
Yeah, no, a thousand
Not
percent.
justifying any treatment, obviously, just acknowledging that it's a challenge.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that challenge and I get it. I also think that that's part of the healing journey. That is a choice. So you can either choose to heal and stay in that energy of being triggered and then acting out, or you can work through it and heal and have it be this this frequency of love, of growth. So those are also choices, but I can't make those choices for anyone else but myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that part right there is the most powerful part of it, acknowledging that your journey is yours and that you're powerless in the journey of others, really. No matter what.
Yes. Yes. But I also want to say with your cards, it's also what I'm getting is it's kind of wanting to push you to communicate with your dad to learn more about him.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I get that part. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would do that.
Okay.
I have no problems with it. I'm pretty at peace with it. Like, I don't feel like the person wronged me, whereas at one point I probably would feel that. I feel like that I just, what do you mean? I had to bear the repercussions of some of that person's actions, I guess, but I don't like wake up thinking that, he was directly woke up like, ah, fuck this kid. You know what I mean? And it could have been that, but I can't go around thinking that, because that's not helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just imagine that person had things going on that didn't allow them to be who I'm trying to be.
So are you gonna reach out and
Yeah, maybe.
communicate?
Oh, also what you said about you like how I maybe that.
Oh, 1,000%.
Also what you said about knowing who you are. I realized that recently as well too. Like there's a lot of power in knowing where you came from, like your history, your lineage. And I realized that's why a lot of these cultures out here, they try so hard to preserve their culture because it's the most meaningful thing that you have. One of the most meaningful things that you have. So, knowing. Like I want to know more about my son's Lola, like where she comes from and things, just stories that I can tell him and pass down like, hey, this is where your people started. Cuz she told me recently that she used to that she was squatting down in rice paddies. It's like shit. I've only
Wait,
ever
what do you
seen that.
mean by that?
Like that's what she used to do. She used to work in the fields. Like some
Oh,
shit
okay.
that none of us could ever fathom, labor wise as a child too, you know? Like my son is never gonna have to work in a rice field for hours a day as a child to eat, you know? And she, where they were from, they didn't have running water, like all types of shit that, you know, it's a lot to have overcame that.
Ooh. Yeah, no, on 1,000%. And that is the thing too, is that those past generations, what our generation, how we are raising our children is so drastically different.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have to give, so it's like this double-edged sword because we also have to give gratitude because they had to be like we can see how the generations before us were emotionally detached, and we can see the repercussions on how it has affected us to grow up in that emotional detachment, and to see how that's also affected them and the generations before them of having that emotional detachment, and seeing how the toxicity that has created. But we also have to have gratitude to understand that they had to be emotionally detached in order to survive. Because if you were in your feelings and being like, this is unfair and blah, 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 you most likely would be unalived in some way, shape, or form. So they had to be emotionally detached. But now, because of all they have gone through and paved the way for us, we now get the opportunity, we get the freedom to explore our feelings, to be intentional, to be nurturing, to have that, we get that safety to be ourselves if we choose.
Yeah, and I think providing that information to my son would, can only empower him and just help him understand where he's at, and just to go out there and do the most with your life based on,
Yes.
you know, the opportunities that you have, and just to not take it for granted, basically.
Yes. Not to squander. Yeah.
Hmm.
Very, yeah. 1,000%. 1,000%.
Yeah, so that's the importance of knowing where you came from. Vulnerability? Should we just freestyle this whole thing? I don't know. We're
I
just
mean,
talking
that's
out random
hard.
shit. Yeah, but I just never introduced it. So welcome back to the Awakened Avoidant. This is episode 26 with myself, Sean Brockington, and Miss Crystal Renee, your favorite Crystal. Today we will, or have been talking already about vulnerability. Is it the power of vulnerability?
Yes,
The
the power.
power of vulnerability in healing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that's like, yeah, us being authentic, us being honest about our situations and how they make us feel. And that is part of taking our power back, right? And that was something I remember, something that I learned when I went to therapy when I was 30. So I'm 37. This was when I was, I guess, 33 and going to therapy. And something that I learned was that my feelings were, that I was allowed to have feelings. Because I grew up in a family where you were not allowed, like, it doesn't matter how you feel about things. This is a dictatorship in some way, sense, or form, or being penalized for having emotions. Or being told that I'm too sensitive. And being told that you're too sensitive, now what it registers and helps me to understand is that someone who tells someone else that they are too sensitive is usually someone who is trying to relieve themselves of guilt for being abusive.
Yeah. Why do you think society or culturally it seems to be like the norm to try to invalidate the feelings of others? Like you hear that a lot out here, like, F your feelings don't matter, like as if you're just supposed to go through this world as a robot and just take on everything that's coming at you and get to the mountaintop and become a millionaire and all types of impossible shit. You know what I mean? Without acknowledging how you feel. It sounds crazy to me. I hear it all the time. All these like men. Oh, I don't have feelings.
Men.
No, bro, you have feelings. You just are you're running from them shits.
You know what you just said? I love that. When you said men. So when I hear the word men, that means we're talking about toxic masculinity. And when we think of toxic masculinity, like a balanced person has both masculine and feminine energy. So a balanced father, right, will be able to tell his son how to be a man, but also be able to nurture their son, not
Yeah,
tell them that their feelings are invalid. So that is a balanced individual. When we talk about a man who is only in that masculine energy without any feminine energy, in that toxic masculinity, they're also the most sensitive at the end of the day, is
yeah.
something that I've realized,
Mm-hmm.
is because they've been in that energy of toxic masculinity, because they are so wounded and don't want to be in their feelings because they feel so much, they don't want to feel anything and pretend that they don't feel. And then it comes out in this toxic way.
Yeah, but in actuality, all these people that like to try to bury their feelings, they run on emotion. They'll be the people that
Are
be the
easily
quickest to get
triggered.
angry, yeah, or aggravated, or all these things. Like, this doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like, the message that you're delivering and the person that you are, there's conflict.
And that's male and female too. That is
Yeah.
women too. There are women who are lacking feminine energy. There are women who are only in their masculine energy, and a lot of this has to do when it comes down to it. When we think of like narcissism, being high on the narcissism scale is living in survival. That's all that they're doing is trying to survive. And in their mind, the only way to survive is to be in that toxic masculinity because they've been taken advantage of in some way, shape, or form. And it is their way of protecting themselves in being that I have to be a warrior all day, every day.
Yeah, I equate vulnerability to growth in my mind. I feel like without it, you can't grow. You just are this one thing that views things through this one lens that you don't deviate from because you're not allowing yourself, I guess. For me, at least, I feel like the most growth has happened when I'm being vulnerable. And when I'm not being vulnerable, as you just recognized earlier, when I'm talking about not crying, that's stifling, because I'm not acknowledging emotions. Like, I'm aware of it. Like, I know it. Just sometimes I'm like, all right, well, I can't be vulnerable all day.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean, I hope there are things that are not making me
yeah,
sad all day.
no,
But if there is something that's like, I guess, like, then we talk about grief, right? There is, people will, I hear these quotes of, I give myself 3 days to grieve and then I get back up and blah, blah, blah. Which at the end of the day, like, I hear you and but everyone does it in their own way. And I very much so am like, I never want to be stuck in any energy. Unless it's high vibrational energy, I'll be stuck in that all day. But on like on a serious note, we have to grieve. Like, grief is something that we all have to process, whether it is a goldfish dying, whether it is I'm no longer talking to that person and I really did enjoy talking to that person, but I also understand that they are stuck in some toxic stuff and don't want to work through it. Therefore, I have to leave them at the train station and keep going to the next station because this is the freedom train and we're not staying stuck. But yeah, there's always something, someone passed away or whatever it is, but we get the opportunity to turn that grief into something magical, into something productive. And when I say productive, it's like taking that grief and what did you learn and how can you apply that and how can you grow, and always being in the opportunity of expansion or honoring someone when it comes to grief. If someone has passed, thinking of ways to honor them, to turn that grief into something beautiful, in some way, shape, or form.
yeah. Now I feel like I have to be vulnerable for my son as well because he needs to see that. Like, I just don't want him to see this pretend person, like a persona, because the person that people try to project that's not real. You feel, you're just trying to not feel things. So I don't want him to see that. I don't want him to carry that into his life. I don't want him to carry that into his relationships. You're not going to be have a very easy go at dealing with women if you can't be vulnerable.
Yeah, and especially a woman that is going to uh, be someone that is nurturing in, like, yeah, if you can't be your authentic self, it's only going to last so long until it implodes or explodes, whatever.
Yeah, a little
You know
bit of
what I
both, I
mean?
guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so we need to see it,
Yeah.
right? Like, our kids and people around us need to see these range of emotions that are real. You know, you need to see your dad cry every now and then. You know.
Yeah, and it's also another safety mechanism because when we think about being sensitivity, I look at sensitivity as a superpower, but being able to feel what other people are feeling, I can also feel other energies. So for instance, like when it comes down to dating, being able to feel someone's energy and be like, yeah, this person does not have the best intentions and they don't need to say anything, I can just feel it. Being able to see past the masks that people wear. So the other night, bartending, and my manager goes, I don't know what's up. I don't think that lady likes me. And I was like, oh, no, no, no. It's not that the lady likes you. She's just not allowed to talk. So I'm taking the order of this couple, and he orders for both of them. And he orders a sandwich for her. So as he's ordering all of the food, looking at me straight in the face and smiling, and being super nice, like over the top nice. And I only say this because when then he ordered a sandwich for her, so I look at her to make eye contact with her to ask her what she wants as like one of her sides. He immediately answers for her and goes, I just know her so well. And in my head, I was like, no, he didn't. Like, I cannot imagine being in a relationship where you can't even order your own side. What if what if I want fries today? He did order her fries, but I was like, what if I had fries yesterday? I want a salad today. This is like, what? It is just, my whole mind was just blown. And my manager having that feeling of like, I don't know, like I just get this sense, and I was like, no, what you're energetically feeling is her crying out for help in some way, shape, or form, because it was just like, and she didn't even like eat any of her food really. I was like, probably because it's not even what she wanted.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
But it's being able to see that mask, like being able to like feel the energy and know what's going on there.
Yeah, the
And
vibes off.
but yeah, and getting that opportunity. So like having the superpower of tapping into my sensitivity, being able to feel the energy. And so my manager took that personally as the woman being like, she doesn't like her. Whereas I was able like to see like, oh, it's not that she doesn't like you. It is, this woman is wanting to crawl out of her own skin at this
Yeah.
moment.
But I'm that type of person. Like outside of here, I don't think I radiate a glow. I don't feel like I give off that impression to people. Like I think people would probably assume that I don't like them or that I'm not nice because I'm not like a big smiler. I'm not super friendly. I'm not very talkative. Like in that situation you described, I'd probably just let my wife order.
Well, I mean, that would be the humane thing to
No, no,
do.
I
Like,
order everything. I
okay,
would let her order for me too.
okay.
Yeah.
And what if someone asked you what you wanted for the side?
Oh yeah, I'd probably answer.
Like
Yeah, I'd answer.
he like literally 2.2, like he did not allow her
Yeah.
to answer. He didn't even look at her.
Yeah.
He only looked at me to me, and then I like it's just seeing that and being able to see past the mask of who he really, and the persona that he put out in public. And I know that that is she's dealing with a different demon when nobody else is around. And that's what I'm talking about, seeing past that mask. And that's what I look at it as a way to keep me safe too, being able to see that energy, seeing when someone's full of poo poo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. You're protecting your energy, not
Yeah.
allowing other bad energies to enter your energy.
Or not to internalize having that feeling of what that, how my manager internalized it
Yeah.
as like, oh, that lady doesn't like me.
Yeah.
And giving myself the grace to understand I don't need to internalize this. I also know that you are a grown woman, and sometimes I just want to be like, slip them like a number, like this is a number for like safety,
Yeah.
or
Blink
blink
twice.
twice, you
Blink twice
know?
if you need help.
But it's like hard, because it kind of goes back into what you were saying a few weeks ago about putting yourself in harm's way to help someone else,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you end up getting stomped out in the parking lot if you slide that number to her.
Oh my God. So I,
Or this guy could just be a really nice gentleman that we're talking about. You never know.
yeah. But that, you know what? We do not know. I do not know for sure. So,
Yeah.
so you were correct. I
But
remember,
your spidey senses were telling you
yeah,
otherwise.
tingle, 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 tingling, ling, ling in.
Yeah.
But I also took my manager saying that she felt that energy of something was,
Yeah, confirmation.
off,
Yeah.
as confirmation. But
Wait,
there
can I
were,
stop you real quick? One time, where did I go? Oh, it's a funny story. I went to, something happened to my wife. She got hit in the eye by something. And when we went to the hospital because she needed stitches, it was the most awkward experience that I've ever experienced. Like everyone in there thought that I was whooping ass. But I didn't get it at first, like because I'm just like, hey, I'm here. Let's help her out. Let's. But then I started feeling the vibe, the energy of people, and the way they were looking at me, and I could tell that they wanted to get her away from me to talk to her about it. And then once I realized that, I just stepped away so that she could explain to them. I didn't have nothing to do with this. But yeah, so that's one of those things where people are probably reading energies and trying to feel, but they would have been wrong, is my point.
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. And you also took your power back by giving her her voice too.
Oh yeah. But that was like one of these just strange situations as a man that you're like, whoa, this is new territory here.
Yeah, no, yeah, so many assumptions.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, you're a
Yeah.
1000% right.
Yeah, so it was awkward. But go ahead. I just wanted to throw that random story in there.
No, yeah, no, thank you for sharing. Um, yeah, there was one time where this family came in and we have like a space in between, like there's a front door, then it's like a little, I guess, like space, and then there's another door. So in between the space, I don't know if he's the biological father or whoever he was to this child, but took the child and jacked him up against the wall before they walked into the restaurant.
Oh no.
Like, and we're all standing there, and like it's just like one of those like, what do we do? Like we are literally watching
No.
child
He
abuse and
gotta go.
like,
He gotta go. We're not serving.
yeah.
We don't serve. No. That's a no.
Well, I said something. I was vetoed. They stayed. But then when they were leaving, I like looked up some phone numbers, wrote them down, and the kids were playing with wiki sticks. So I put the phone number in between the wiki sticks and like went and gave it to the mom and was like, here, I was like, the boys were so good. I just want to give them these extra like wiki sticks to play with or whatever. And she was like, oh, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. And she went and then she saw the paper and then she dropped it, like dropped the paper.
Mm. So you out there trying to do the Lord's work and it got rejected.
I mean, I don't take it as a personal rejection,
Yeah.
right? There's that, but
I
it
get it, but you did your
also,
part.
yeah, did my part, but also can see that some people can choose to stay in those situations,
All people.
and that's the scary part about putting yourself out there for someone who doesn't even want to be helped. You know,
See?
that's the
You wanted me to go get knifed down the other day by some woman that's still with the guy, actually.
I mean, we also had the conversation of like next time, we can just, you already gave them the prerequisites. You can just call the cops.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
true.
you don't want your family, and you also don't want to normalize this, right? You don't want your son growing up hearing the neighbor getting beat on, like,
Yeah.
oh, that's just what they do at so and so's house. Like, oh, that's, like,
Yeah.
it's just what we listen to on Tuesdays. He usually gets drunk and beats on his wife. That's what happens here,
Yeah, that would be an unfortunate reality, but no, we got the hell up out of there. So, vulnerability in your life.
Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, I guess vulnerability in my life is being able to speak my truth, being able to be honest, not people pleasing. Because a lot of what I say can be triggering to other people, or people can just will take there can be a lot of this of, but she's your mom.
I can see how that would trigger you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I can see how
Oh
that
my
could be the
gosh.
most
I'm like, wait,
triggering.
what? Yeah, but
Even me, I try to be careful with, that stuff. Because I know, like if someone said that to me, but stop it,
yeah. Well, I'm just saying the learning part. I
Yeah.
think that there's beauty in
Oh
the
yeah, but I'm with,
opportunity to
yeah,
get to
no,
learn.
no, no.
Yeah.
See, it's different
So,
though. The way
yeah.
you approach it is way different. It's not like you're going, you better go love your dad, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
But even that, I should do that too. So I'm just
Aw,
making bullshit jokes.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Um,
I told you I have no malice, no animosity towards the guy. I'm just protecting my peace, I would say. But eventually, maybe I'll go check it out, see what's going on at the funeral.
yes. And when you said eventually, my first thought was like, but what happens if we run out of time? And then you
Yeah.
said the funeral. I was like, well, he just spoke on it. Okay, answered that question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, being vulnerable for me personally too, is also going to be is part of my journey too, because there's also going to have to be. My daughter's not in the age to really understand why we don't go and see my mom. We use, I guess, like she's 5, so kind of baby terms it of Grams really isn't nice to mommy. So mommy chooses not to spend time with anyone that's not nice to her. So yeah, but there's gonna have to be more conversations because the wild thing is, I remember my mom asking me one time of what would it be like, what would it take for us to rebuild our relationship, and I told her honesty, and then I caught her in a lie 2 seconds later, and then I also had to realize that she can't help, like she literally came out of the womb being taught how to lie, being like so with that, my grandmother was like 14, 15 years old when she had my mom.
Yeah.
And finding out later on in life, in my 30s, finding out that this was a 20-something-year-old man that impregnated her. And she spent her whole life having to call her mom sis because they had told her that she needed to pretend that they were sisters and not mother and daughter. So the
I got you.
mindset,
The lying begins there.
yeah, the
Yeah.
lying began, yeah, just out of the womb, you're supposed to lie about who you are.
Yeah.
So that comes natural to her.
Yeah.
And to realize that the intentions were to protect my grandmother of the stigma that comes with being a teenage mom. But the reality is that you weren't protecting her, you weren't protecting my mom, you're protecting the pedophile down the road. That's the only person that was being protected through that.
Mm.
And that is where I'm also going to have to be honest and vulnerable with my daughter and teach her those lessons and tell her how important it is to speak your truth, how to speak up for yourself. And yeah, so my point is that vulnerability is still something that I'm going to have to step into as she grows up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Vulnerability for me. I definitely wasn't always that way for absolute certain. I don't think it was really a conscious decision that I made as I got older. I feel like it could have been like mid to late 20s or something where I just started realizing that I know I feel a certain way about a lot of things and I'm just not addressing them. And because I'm not addressing them, I just can't communicate with people properly. People that matter. It's preventing me from doing that, from having, I guess, like honest conversations about the way I feel.
The communication
Yeah,
card.
yeah. About you scared me. About
Sorry.
the way I feel. You like quick point and shit. About the way I feel about things. And once I realized that doing that was allowing me to become a better person all around, I just embraced it. It's not it's not something that you should run away from. Even though all these words that emotional all these words that are like emotionally invested, men, probably women too, all people or me specifically, originally would run away from. Maybe because it's easier. I don't really know the reason why. I guess because it's hard to confront these things. But as you start doing it, like with all things, it becomes easier. So you be vulnerable in one way, and you start here, and just little pieces, and then you build it up to a point where it's like, okay, I'm open and available and unguarded for all things.
Yeah. And I guess what just came up for me when you said that, it unlocked the thought of getting the ability to transmute that energy, the fear of feeling, right? But when we have this fear of feeling, one of my fears when it comes to feelings is anger. Anger is one of the emotions that I try to stay away from because bringing astrology into this, my Mars is in Taurus. So Taurus is the bull. So, you know, when they have that saying, like the bull in the china shop, like
Yeah.
causing chaos, like so Mars is how we get angry. So I run away from anger because I don't want to be that bull in the china shop, like not in control of my emotions, being so angry to the point where I am just this chaotic entity, I guess. I don't know. So with that, I really had to work really hard in processing my emotions, to balance that out. But I also am still learning how to be okay with that emotion, to accept it, to accept anger, and to transmute it in a healthy way.
Yeah. Me too, actually. And for me, it had to be done, or else I was just going to be angry. You know, for me, because I just wasn't acknowledging or addressing the root of the issues. So I think with being vulnerable, you get to address the root of the issues.
Yeah. So vulnerability is healthy and uh, and creates growth.
I like it. You close it out. Vulnerability. We'd like to thank you for tuning in to The Awakened Avoidant. We hope our convo has provided you with insight, inspiration, and healing energy. As you go about your week, let's continue to work together to heal ourselves and our community. Stay safe and continue to spread healing vibes wherever you go. Catch a new episode Wednesday weekly on all platforms.